Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Achieve. My name is Jill, and I'm your room host for this session, and I'm with Ask. Today, our presenters are Shannon Grundmeier, Nancy Hunt, and Lisa Lohman. And before we begin, I am going to tell you a little bit more about our presenters. Shannon serves as an education program consultant in the Division of Special Education at the Iowa Department of Education. In this role, she is responsible for the development, implementation, and ongoing maintenance of the statewide system for implementation of the Individuals with Disability Education Act. As a parent of children with disabilities with more than 15 years of experiences in education, she proudly supports the launch of the nation's first online platform to provide early access and special education records to families. Shannon is a PROSI certified, change management practitioner and has earned several degrees from Iowa State University, including a BS in Business Management, a BA in Psychology, Master's in Psychology, and Master's in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. Nancy Hunt serves as an educational program consultant in the Division of Special Education at the Iowa Department of Education. In this role, she is a member of the internal team that supports the implementation and ongoing technical assistance for the Achieve Family Portal. Nancy has worked at the department for 13 years, where she has worked on a variety of projects and grants in the areas of professional learning, special education, and mental health. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and human relations education from the University of Iowa and a master's degree in public administration from Drake University. Lisa serves as a Management Analysis 3 for Achieve in the Division of Special Education at the Iowa Department of Education. In this role, she is responsible for assisting project management with development, implementation, ongoing maintenance, and technical support of the statewide system for implementation of the Individuals with Disability Education Act. Lisa serves as a technical and support specialist for the IDEA statewide application for 12 years prior to coming to the department, and has a total of 26 years of experience working with local educational agencies, area education agencies, and the department in Iowa within the areas of general education and special education. She has knowledge in data analysis, database structure, and an understanding of early access and IEDEA procedures in Iowa. This knowledge has assisted her in providing technical training and support to local education agencies and area education agency staff across the state of Iowa. Thank you for joining us. One last housekeeping thing before we begin. In your folders, if you would fill out the yellow evaluation form before you leave, then you can leave them on the table or give them to myself or Susie in the back before you leave. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. So we are going to tag team this presentation today, so we'll be passing microphones around as we present. But thank you so much for having us today. We are so excited to talk with you about the Achieve Family Portal. We launched this new tool in February, and so if you haven't learned about it yet or haven't heard about it yet, we're so glad you're here. And if you already have an account, I'd love to hear your feedback. So we'll jump right in and just begin with understanding a few key terms so we're all on the same level playing field. So when we talk about IDEA, or Individuals with Disability Education Act, this is the federal policy that guides the work that we're doing. So in Iowa, we have a few different terms that I want to be sure that everybody is, again, familiar with. So the Achieve system is the name of the system that contains IEPs and IFSPs. So if you have a learner receiving services in special education, the documentation lives in our Achieve system. So we'll be talking more about that here in a minute. Age of majority refers to the age at which rights transfer to students in Iowa, so that is age 18. And then date of rights transfer, again, talking about what is that date that those educational decision-making rights transition from the family members to the learner. And again, most often that occurs at age 18, though there are some exceptions. And then the term learner, I want to point out, is a term that we use in our Achieve Family Portal to refer to any child, birth to 21, receiving services under IDEA. So with that acronym, we also use the term IDEA parent. So the federal law has very specific guidelines around who can make educational decisions as a parent for special education purposes. So those relationship types, we define them as IDEA parent. So we'll probably see that language within our system. And then we frequently refer to these acronyms of IEP and IFSP. IEP meaning Individualized Education Program, so those learners who are 3 to 21 receiving education services. And then IFSP is for learners who are just born up to 3, Individualized Family Service Plan. Okay, with that, I'm going to transition this over to you.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the developing of the Achieve Family Portal and all of the input that went into that across the state. We had strengthened, the vision was to strengthen partnerships between children, families, service providers, and educators. And again, Achieve houses birth to 21, so it's a system for early intervention and special ed services, which is what Shannon just talked about. We wanted to increase access so that family members and learners have access to their information via a secure online account, okay? We wanted to increase engagement. We wanted it to be mobile-friendly content that can be viewed at any time, anywhere, and access to real-time data when we talk about progress monitoring, etc. And I already jumped ahead to the real-time data because that's what we're most excited about, is the ability for you to be able to see transition information for children, learners, as well as that progress monitoring in real time. Okay. Stakeholder input, we involved a lot of different stakeholders across the state of Iowa for input into the family portal and what that would look like as we move forward with this project. So we wanted to involve family members in sharing ideas, identify system needs, observing development, and testing key functionality. So we involved family members as well as other stakeholders across the state to do testing as we were developing the Achieve Family Portal so that we could have that engagement and we could find out, you know, what people thought about the family portal as we created it. They participated in a soft launch, which we started before February, right? January. And they were able to test and give us feedback and actually see information ahead of time. So it was really nice to kind of start out that way and then do the full launch in February. Those stakeholders' inputs we had were early access partners, so that's the birth to 3-year-olds, area education agencies within that group, early access grantee leadership team, and signatory partners, partner agencies, which are child health specialty clinics. And then special education partners, we had area education agencies, school districts, special education advisory panel involved, and then other key stakeholders, we had different groups of people, Achieve Governance Council, which oversees the Achieve system, as well as Ask Resource and the Iowa Department of Education. So we had many different stakeholders' input throughout the process. The functionality of the Achieve Family Portal, I'm going to slow down now, is again so that you can log in securely. And many of you, if you've already logged in, you've received an email, and then that gets you into the system. So you'll be able to see upcoming meetings, dates, and deadlines. There will be a calendar available as well. draft documents shared by the IFSP team and IEP team, depending on the age of your learner, finalized IFSP and IEP records, and then again, that real-time data for progress monitoring or outcome progress on the IFSP side, as well as transition. If a child's transitioning in early access world, that's live real-time data, as well as post-secondary. The ability to take actions. So you'll be able to print consent forms if you have access to the Achieve Family Portal. You'll be able to sign consent forms electronically if you have an interactive account, which Nancy will talk about a little bit later. And then you'll be able to download IFSP and IEP records, as well as completing family surveys. So one of the questions that I think we heard earlier is all of the information from my learner, my child, on the Achieve Family Portal once I log in. Will my accounts connect? And the answer is yes. So if you have 2 learners, you'll be able to see that data, etc. So that is the exciting piece. So this is a preview of my dashboard for family members. So once they log in, at the very top of the screen now, they see my family, and then they'll see their different learners. So like I said, if you have more than 1 learner, you as a family member can log in one time and see the information for that learner. Those learners, sorry. Thank you. Preview of my dashboard also shows recent documents. So anything that's finalized, we call it in Achieve, or completed, so a prior written notice, an IEP and IFSP, will automatically show under recent documents once that's occurred in Achieve. The team can also share drafts of IEPs and IFSPs. Those will also show here. So you kind of have we kind of refer to it as the health system. You know, when you log into your health system account, you can see recent documents or something and you can say, okay, I've seen that, and move on, or you can leave it here. So we have a clear alert so that you as a parent can decide, do I want to just leave this here or do I not want to see this anymore? And it'll still show under another stepper within the system. It's called the documentation stepper. Consents to review and sign show underneath of that. So if you have a consent that needs to be signed, that'll show. And if you have interactive access, you'll be able to sign it electronically. Monitoring for progress. As I said, this is the most exciting thing in my mind about the Achieve Family Portal, is being able to have access to that data at any time. So as soon as it's entered on the IEP side or the IFSP side for outcomes, you'll be able to go in and there's a data history button that will take you in and you can view the progress and you can see the graphs, as well as you'll be able to see the data points as well. Oh, thank you. There are different cards within here. So if your learner has multiple goals, you may have to click on this to expand, and then you'll see the information below it. We've had a lot of questions about that over time. Preview of the progress monitoring. So as I said, you can see the data. So you can see what was entered, as well as you'll be able to see the graph in real time. And you can print these as well, save them to your computer, whatever you prefer. Okay, I'm going to switch back to Shannon.
All right. So we failed to mention at the beginning that this family portal is the first in the nation to have something like this, and so we're really proud of that. But with that, there's a lot of things we have to take into account to make sure we're covering all of our bases with that. So benefits for family members and for learners are many, but before we talk about that, I want to just reiterate who is actually eligible to create an account in the Achieve Family Portal. So I mentioned before that term IDEA parent. So these terms here are what we use in Achieve to reflect who makes up an IDEA parent. So our biological or adoptive parents, or if a relative has been appointed to act in place of that parent, legal guardians, court designees, powers of attorney, and surrogates. So if you're in a family where you fall into one of those categories, you would potentially be eligible to create an account. We also allow our students, our learners, to create an account. So learners age 3 to 21, once that family member feels they're ready, they can then provide us with that child's email address when they're creating or viewing their own account, and they can invite your child. So if your learner is approaching that age of transition and you would like them to have more involvement and activity in the IEP decisions, you can invite them to create an account at your leisure. And then upon reaching that age of majority, so age 18, or date of rights transfer, whichever comes first, those learners are also going to be automatically eligible to have an account created. So if you haven't invited them, they become eligible to have an account at that time. And then individuals who are not able to create an account in the family portal, so we have this category that we say is parent or other. Sometimes we refer to this when we're talking about our step parents or other individuals who are in a parental role but have not been appointed as an alternate decision maker. Foster parents or other relatives, friends, advocates, none of those individuals can create an account. That being said, if you're in a family and you fall into one of those relationship types, there's nothing preventing the IDEA parent from sharing information, but you're not considered an educational decision maker, so you can't have an account on your own. And then with foster parents, we know a lot of times foster parents are also appointed as a surrogate or other alternate decision maker, and so if you fall into one of those categories, then you could create an account, but generally speaking, you cannot. Okay, so, gosh, the title's there we go. Sorry about that. So utilizing the Achieve Family Portal, some of the main benefits that exist are one, to help you stay engaged as a family member, as the learner. Again, reviewing those meeting notices, upcoming deadlines for when your annual IEP might be due, encouraging you to participate and encouraging the participation of your child. And then again, completing those family engagement surveys will be another way that you can interact with us and share information with the Department of Ed. You'll also be able to help prepare yourself for those team meetings by reviewing your procedural safeguards. There will always be a link to those within our system. Again, viewing, printing, or signing electronically those consent forms, and then access to review draft documents. So if your team is working on an IEP or IFSP and it's still in draft form, which it often is prior to your meeting, they can choose to share a copy of that with you via the portal. And then finally, tracking that progress. As we've talked about, kind of one of the big benefits of this system is really being able to see those documents, save them to your local computer if you want to, or have your own paper copies that you have kind of at your disposal. Being able to see that real-time progress. I know this is my favorite feature as well, as I was looking at my child's progress just recently, kind of seeing how he's doing on some of his goals. And then finally, being able to support the smooth transition of your child as they grow. So we talk about this system being a birth to 21 system. So if your child is between 0 and 3 and they start out in early access, your account transitions with you as well as they enter special education. And so it's a really great way to help ensure that everything is connected and you can have access to all of that information as your child ages. And then we did ask for some feedback from some of our early adopters, if you will. So to kind of get some feedback on how is it going, what are you finding most useful? So we have a few here that I'll read to you as it's a little hard to see on the screen. So the first person said that being able to review my child's early access records at my own pace has made it easier for me to understand. I can clearly see how my services and supports have changed over time to support my child's growth and development. And because of that, they feel more comfortable asking questions during visits and participating in family routines. Another family member said, the parent portal has been a game changer for our family. It keeps our documents all in one place, gives us access to real-time progress whenever we need it. No more waiting for the information to be sent to you by your team. Knowing that we're seeing the same information as staff has built trust amongst that team as well, and made that communication smoother and more effective. And then tracking progress and needs here in the third one. Before the annual meeting, we were actually able to review the child's progress in advance, which they found really helpful. He says, I appreciated the documents feature, much easier than managing the stacks of paperwork that sometimes come with our IEP meetings. And then being able to find those archived documents was helpful, especially as we may need to revisit the services that are being provided. Okay, so now I just wanted to share some data on the Achieve Family Portal and how many accounts we've had and what that looks like across the state. So again, we've been live for about 2 months now, and we've had so far just over 6,100 unique accounts created across the state. So that means we had about 95,000 people invited so far, so we have a ways to go to increase usage of the tool, but we are excited about where we are, and we're going to continue to hopefully get family members invited and actively using it. Of the folks who are actively using the system, though, we have 100% of representation from all of our AEAs. So all of our AEAs have done their job inviting family members in early access to create an account. We have a slightly higher percentage of usage so far, 8.3% of our invited early access contacts. And then in our public school district, we have 96% of districts represented as having an active account. Some of our districts are really small and don't have very many special education learners, so we don't have 100% quite yet there. But about 6.8% of those who are eligible to be invited have created an account there. Okay.
We want to just pause here to see if anybody has any questions about the functionality that Lisa and Shannon talked about so far with the family portal. Yes.
Sure. Absolutely. So I'm going to try to repeat that question first. So the question was, in the past I've provided documents to my team and provided paper copies. I wonder if there's a way that those can be scanned and uploaded into the system. And the short answer is yes. There is a way for teams to manually upload documentation, and then they will get to choose what the title of that document is in the Achieve system. So then when you're looking in your documentation section later, you'll be able to always see, like, this is the one I'm looking for, and it can be specifically called dyscalculia or whatever else it might be that you're providing data on. Yep, good question. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. So the question was, I don't have an account yet. How do I get the access set up for that? And we'll talk more about that right here.
Any advice on how to get schools to upload more? Like, I know it's, I love the fact that it's, on time or...
Yeah, real time, yep.
Real time. I'm just finding it's not real time because preschool is not...
Sure, sure.
Any recommendations on, is there going to be legislation or...
At this time, there's no legislation that I'm aware of that is requiring districts to upload data. It is definitely encouraged by the Iowa Department of Education to provide that in a timely manner. However, the current law just says they have to provide data to you as often as is listed in your IEP. Yeah. You can definitely have that conversation with your team for sure. A lot of times the default answer that I see is, if, reports are generally provided to general education students quarterly. That's typically what they'll write into the IEP unless you say something different. So feel free to ask that question and see if you can hopefully increase that, but there's nothing enforcing it statewide at this time. So, great question. The question again was, is this system only for parents and families, or does the teacher have access to it as well? So we have two systems actually. So the Achieve system is what teachers already have access to, and that system deployed first and has been live for since 2022, before I was there. And so that's where our special education teachers, our service providers, they already have access to that. And that system is really intended to mirror what you see in the Achieve Family Portal. So if there are documents uploaded, for example, via the Achieve side, they would be available to both the team members and to you in this, the family member. There's nothing like that built in. Again, I keep forgetting to repeat the question. The question was, is there any kind of enforcement in the system that ensures that teachers are reviewing those accommodations and goals regularly? And the short answer is no. However, they are responsible for progress monitoring on a regular basis, so that should be occurring naturally without any specific reminder. But I understand that there may be a lot of different members on the team, and some may be more involved in using that system than others. Yeah, good question. So can parents upload data or information into the system? And right now that answer is no. We don't have a way for parents to upload, but if there are things that you would like to see uploaded, I do think that's a good conversation to have with your team. Yep. Great question. Yep. Mm-hmm. So again, the question is, how much data is there from a historical point of view? My learner maybe is a little older, and we've had multiple different systems. So yes, we have all of the historical data from our previous legacy system uploaded as well. So if your learner is again older than being born in 2022, you may have older documents that have been uploaded and scanned in. Yep. Okay, good question so far. Oh, there's one more. Yep. Sure. So what is the family engagement survey and who does it go to is the question. So the family engagement survey is something that we send out annually to family members on an IEP or IFSP. It's not very many questions. It's just kind of a checkpoint to ensure that families feel like they're being engaged as part of that IEP or IFSP team. So it's often just one or two questions that have previously been sent via email, but we know that sometimes those are getting filtered to spam or junk mail. So the portal will be another way to complete that and submit feedback to us. No. Yep. Nope, they cannot. So can the team see what you answer? So these questions are designed to be anonymous. We just send them out to everyone, and then we collect that data. Does that sound right to you still? Yep. And so it's basically, again, one of the examples for special ed, it's legitimately just one question. And do you feel like you've been engaged as a team member on the IEP team? Yes or no? And so there's not a lot of depth to it yet, but that is the question right now, and then you can provide that feedback to us. Your team does not see the responses. In fact, we don't even necessarily know what you said. We just are collecting aggregate data. That's a great point. Thank you for sharing. Okay, we'll come back to more questions at the end, but for now I'll transition over to you.
Sorry, Shannon, I opened that can of worms for you, and we let Shannon answer all the questions. One last thing on the family engagement survey, that's something that we are required to report on our annual performance report to the U.S. Department of Education. So that's what the purpose of the survey is, as part of our SPP APR. Okay, so we are going to just talk a little bit about how you create an account and the information that you need to create an account. So first, you have to meet the qualifications that Shannon talked about. So you need to be an IDEA parent as defined by the law. And then you also need to have provided a valid email address to your team. So in Achieve, your IEP team will enter in on the educator side, will enter your email address in the family contact portion. So that is where your invitation will go to whatever email address they have listed for you. So if you haven't already, created an account, you should look for an email that says you're invited to join the Achieve Family Portal. And if you haven't received that account or email, you can contact your IEP team or IFSP team and ask about the email. We also have a support help desk as well at the department that can help. So once you receive the email, you'll click on the link and then you just enter information about your learner. So you'll need your learner's first, last name, and then also the last 4 digits of the state ID. So every student in Iowa has a unique state identifier. Generally, people don't know about it or don't know what it is because we use it at the department as a way of connecting data about students. So that ID needs to come from your district or from your IFSP service coordinator. So we provided information across for all of those individuals ahead of the launch for them to be able to provide that to families. We didn't tell them how they had to do it, so basically we let districts decide how best to disseminate that or how service coordinators were going to disseminate that information. So they've done it a variety of ways. So we found that some districts sent out emails to all of their families with that information ahead of the launch. We found that some districts waited until parent-teacher conferences and provided it then, or waiting until the IEP team meeting in order to give that information. Is there another way that I've forgotten that you can think of that we've heard? So if you could have received it in any of those ways, and if you don't have that 4-digit ID, you'll need it in order to create the account. Yes.
Mine did not. And so I was trying to create an account and going, last 4 digits of state ID, what is this?
Yes.
And I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know if I was supposed to go to you or if I was supposed to go back to them, and I haven't yet. I just got it like a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
You are definitely not alone. That is probably the most common barrier that we're finding is that families don't know what that is and haven't received it, or when they received it didn't know what it was for, basically. So that is one of the things that we are finding that families need the most assistance with. So yeah, so in order to get that, you would go back to your team for that. So we potentially talked about ways when that can be easier. We want the IEP team to be the ones to verify that whoever's asking is the parent, because the districts or the IFSP teams know who the parents are better than we do at the state level. So just we're responsible for keeping it all safe and secure, which safety, we've learned that security doesn't always mean convenience for everyone. So yes, but we have to keep it very secure. So so if you have questions about that, your IEP team or IFSP team is a good place to start. Also then you'll need your learner's date of birth as well. And then you enter information about yourself as a parent, so your first, last name, and then you create a password, which again is very secure, so it's long, 15 characters. So that can also be a sticking point as well, but it does have information on what needs to be included in your password. There's terms and conditions, like pretty much every internet account that you have. And then you get to choose the access type that you prefer. And this is what Lisa was referring to earlier. So if you choose interactive access, then that allows you to sign those consents electronically. as well as, why did I blank on the other thing? And receiving emails whenever those new consents are available. Thank you. My brain went blank. And then if you do view only, then you do not have the ability to sign electronically. And then you just click submit, and then your account should be created. If you have more than one learner who has an IEP or IFSP, you can use the same account. So you should receive an email from each learner. So once you create your initial account, you'll go back to the invitation for the other learner, click on the link, and then you'll just enter the learner's information again, and then it will ask you to enter your email and password that you've already created. And then you'll see, as Lisa was showing you, you'll have all your learners listed on your My Family piece of the portal once you sign in. So here's what the login page looks like when you get there. You'll also see that there is a link. So this is the link to be able to access the portal after you've created an account. And we do have some handouts here that will give you, that have a QR code that will make it easier for you. And on this page also, it doesn't look on the screenshot, but we do have our help desk support email is there as well. Just isn't showing up on our screenshot. Pardon me? Okay, so some of the support resources that our team created in order to support the launch. We do have a quick video, which thanks to Ask Resources, because they really created that video for us. And so it's just a quick video that gives families an idea of what they can expect from the portal and some of the benefits. We also have a frequently asked question page on our website, and that page goes through a lot of the things that we've heard. Some of the questions that you've had here today are listed there with the answers. I've kind of mentioned that we have a support team, so we do have a help desk that is available to help families get logged in. We've found anecdotally from the couple months that we've been launched, that the main issue that we have people contacting us for is the fact that they've locked their account because they didn't have the state ID and they were entering in a different number. So our help desk is unlocking and providing assistance on how to actually create that account. But once families are in, we don't really get feedback that the portal is difficult to navigate or that it's difficult finding information once you're in there. So it's user friendly once you get in. We do have a quick start guide which walks you through the account creation process with screenshots. We have a support guide that walks you through some activities that will help you kind of learn how to navigate. And then we also have a user guide which has way more information that you probably ever would want to know about the portal, because it goes through screenshots of everything and explains what everything means and how to navigate. So that's there if you're interested. And then the interactive activity guide as well. That gives you, those are the activities that help you. The family support guide sort of gives you information on how to get into the portal. So ways to access it, I believe Shannon mentioned at the beginning, so it can be accessed through any web-enabled device. So you can get it through your computer, laptop, smartphone, or a tablet. You don't have to download an app. It's just a website that you can log into. We've also gotten a lot of questions like, what if I don't have an email address, or what if I don't have access to a device that will let me get into the portal? How can I get the information? Well, the portal is not meant to replace what you were doing previously or replace that person-to-person interaction with your IEP teams. This is just another way for families to get the information. Kind of, I think Lisa used the example of the medical portal. So if you go to the doctor, you know that they're going to give you your test results, whether you have access to the portal or not. But if you create that account with the portal, you can get them whenever you would like, or maybe get them earlier sometimes. So this is just another way for you to engage with your learners' information and with the IEP team. So you can still interact with them through phone, in-person, email, district level communication tools that might be available as well. So it's really just meant to strengthen that partnership between families and service providers and your school. So we're hoping that is the goal that is accomplished from it, and that's what we've heard so far, feedback from the parents that have been in the portal. That is all that we have formally for you, so we are open to more questions, which we'll probably pass to Shannon. Yes. So what if you don't have contact with your IEP team? Do you want to?
So yeah, if you have not had a lot of contact with your IEP team, maybe you had an initial meeting at the beginning of the year, but they have not been following up with you. The portal is a great advocacy tool for you. You can log in, see your account, see the data specifically. So if you know that your child isn't making progress as you would expect them to, and there might be concerns, this gives you another way to leverage that to say, look, we need to have another meeting, and I have concerns about whatever it might be. So you can definitely, you cannot ask it for it through the portal. But you can ask for another meeting at any time. So whether you're calling, emailing, or whatever it might be, you have the right to ask for another meeting at any time. Okay, I would continue to follow up with that, and then of course if you continue to run into issues where they're not being responsive, we can also talk to you at the end about some dispute resolution opportunities too. Yep, good question. Sure. So the question is, can you have multiple accounts within the same family? And the answer is yes. So each person who is an IDEA parent is asked to provide a unique email address, and so they'll use that email address to create the account. So mom and dad, or mom and surrogate, or whatever it might be, can also have an account, so they can see that individualized information. This helps us to control that access around the IDEA parent relationship type. So especially with learners who are maybe moving in and out of foster care situations, it's helpful for us to be able to say, this is the surrogate today, and maybe in a few weeks it might change, so it's helpful to have that. Yep. Oh, sure. Good. Good question. So the question is, if data or information is uploaded into Achieve, does the IEP team or IFSP team have the ability to modify the date that is displayed? And the short answer is no. So it will show the date it was uploaded. They cannot change that manually. So, yep. And also, I will also point out that any information that is uploaded, or IEPs or IFSPs that are finalized, those records are permanent. So you'll always have them. Even if they've made a mistake and something needs to be amended, you'll have access to those versions once they're finalized. Yep. Oh, sure. Sure. So the question is, when I mention service providers, who am I talking about? And so right now it's not specifically to ABA or outside therapies. It's really intended to be those services provided at the district by the AEA staff, so our speech therapists, occupational therapists, PTs, etc. If you're receiving deaf and hard of hearing services, like all of those things would be considered internal to that school district and the services they're receiving, so those individuals would have accounts. Yep. No. Good question. So can they have an IEP team meeting without you? No. Parents are considered part of the IEP team, and they're legally required to notify you if a meeting needs to be held. Yep. Well, let's talk, because you definitely have some things that might be worth following up on. Good question. So once your child exits early access or special education services, how long do you have access to that information is the question. And the answer is 90 days, 90, after your learner is exited from services. That being said, you'll get an email notifying you that your child is being exited, and you have 90 days to go in and download anything if you need to. That information is also required to be stored until your learner is 27 by your AEA. So if your learner exited 3 years ago, and you want access to that data, that should still be available for you at your AEA. And sometimes the districts will keep that as well. Yep. Great questions. Has anyone in the room already created an account out of curiosity? Oh, lots of you. Good. I would love to hear feedback if you're willing to share. But I don't feel like you're putting you on the spot. But if you're willing to share, I'd love to know more about what that has looked like for you and if you found what you found most beneficial. Go ahead.
First off, you guys' team is absolutely amazing. Your help desk is absolutely amazing. Very quick. Obviously, you guys aren't available 24/7, but very quick in response of, passwords locked, whatever. The only thing I have is just when they enter the data, teachers are saying they can't put like a comment. At least that's what I'm told. Because I'm asking, I'm like, I don't understand. You put a 4. I don't know what that means. Like, yeah, okay. Okay, for them. Okay, that was the only thing that I had. But yeah, you guys have done an amazing job.
Awesome. So yeah, the IEP team definitely has the ability to add comments every time they enter data. So it may be a training issue that we can work on with the district. Feel free to let me know which one, and I'm happy to reach out. Anyone else want to share? Okay, very good.
You can share with us privately
Yep,
later.
absolutely. So yep, we are still very much in our infancy with this particular program, but again, hoping to continue to get more families engaged with it and learning and growing and developing the system as we go. We know we've released it with pretty bare bones functionality. You can just see the things. We're not allowing you to be able to communicate with your team through the portal at this time, but we're definitely always looking at what do we need to do to improve and use the system more effectively. Did you have something else?
Well, just the invite.
Oh, yep.
You said if we don't have one, we need to contact our school district, right?
Yep.
We get the notification that says you're going to receive an email, but we haven't received anything.
So the question. Yeah. Yep. So the question is, I was notified that I'm going to receive an invite, but I haven't gotten it yet. And who do I go to for help on that? So I'm going to direct you back to your IEP team, although we also can look it up here too at the end. So it's possible that they don't have your email address saved, because if they don't have that, then they can't email you the invitation. So that might be. Well, that email probably came from the district, whereas the invite comes from us. And so if they haven't stored it in our system, then it's going to prevent you from getting an invite. So, yep, again, just a kind of a training issue with our districts, but we'll get there. All right. We also have some handouts at the front of the room, especially if you haven't created an account. This will give you kind of just an overview of what the portal does and a QR code to our Achieve Family Portal webpage, where you'll find all of our training materials and resources. So I feel free to grab one of those. We have slightly different versions for the document if your learner is birth to 3 versus 3 to 21, but basically the same information. So you're welcome to grab those if you like. And then we are happy to stick around for individual questions, as I figured there might be some. So we will be happy to do that.
So someone had asked about the old records from the legacy system, and we said that everything has transferred over. If for some reason you run across, you're like, wait a minute, this isn't here and it should be, reach out to our Chief Family Support Help Desk, because we can answer those questions on why it may not be there, or we may need to look into getting that information over. We've had a few issues, but not a lot. So just kind of, I don't want somebody to log in and be like, oh, everything's not there, and reach out to their district. The district wouldn't know how that information gets there, so.
We also have a booth here, so if you have questions that you don't get an opportunity to ask or you wanted to ask in private, feel free to stop by our booth as well.